So welcome back, everyone. Great to have you all tuned in. Our next keynote is from Eightfold, who will talk about how AI is rewriting the rules of work and talent. Joining us are Jaclyn Zhuang, VP of Product, and Conor Volpe, Senior Director of Product Marketing. So over to you guys.
Awesome. Thank you, Ella, for the introduction. And hello, everybody. Welcome to today's session. We're very excited to be with you here today. As Ella mentioned, talk about how specifically Agentic AI is going to kind of force us to rethink or rewrite how we work alongside AI and what that means for companies and the future of work for us. We're very excited to talk with you about that today. As Ella mentioned, my name is Conor Volpe, and I'm on the product marketing team here at Eightfold. Been Eightfold for coming up on 3.5 years. And I'd love to give Jaclyn a chance to introduce herself too, to say hi to everybody. Jaclyn.
Yeah, hey everyone. I'm Jaclyn Zhuang, VP of Product here at Eightfold, where I lead our efforts within the talent management and the resource management space. Super happy to be here today with everybody.
And one of the reasons that we're really looking forward to talk about this particular topic with all of you is Eightfold has a bit of a distinct point of view on this, because we kind of come at this from 3 different levels. And what I mean by that is, first of all, we've been around for 10 years helping our customers rethink their existing talent processes to use AI to better understand their employees, to better find the fit for candidates into their companies. And that's been a journey we've been on with our customers, rather, for, like I said, almost a decade. So we work with them already on some of these transformative projects. But then, as Jaclyn will get into, like, we're also bringing agents to bear for these companies. So we're going beyond deep learning, machine learning for them, and now bringing agents to bear for them and thinking about a strategy to roll that out for their workforce. And then finally, we're doing this ourselves. We're an employer, we're a company who is using AI more and more and more, and using some of our own agents in our workforce. So we kind of come at this from all different perspectives, and you can't really, at least at the Eightfold side, we can't really escape it. This is happening everywhere. And again, happening with our customers, happening with the technology we're bringing to bear, and happening at our company. So I'm kind of excited to talk through all the different levels and ways this hits. And hopefully we can kind of cut through some of the hype or the buzzwords and just have a kind of a frank conversation about what this means for us as employees, some of the really good things and exciting things, and maybe some of the things that might be keeping us up at night sometimes. So that's where we want to come at it from. But before we can do all that, I do want to make sure we're all on the same page about when we say agentic AI, what do we mean? Because I'm sure we've all been inundated perhaps with AI in the news, AI in our feeds, and that 2-letter acronym gets used for a lot of different things. And I think it's important to understand the terms that we're using and what we mean when we say agentic AI versus, again, all the things that have been in the news. So if you'll bear with me, a little bit of an overview of the evolution of AI, and we'll do it particularly for HR, but as you can imagine, this goes far beyond just HR. But really, if you think about where AI started, it was automation at its most basic, was putting a plow on the back of livestock to help us till fields way back in the day. Like, that's an example of automation. Of course, we brought this into software a long time ago, but this also has physical implications, right? Like, machines are an example of automation. Really, that's just helping people reduce the amount of intervention they have to complete a task. But then came traditional AI, which was strictly rule-based. If this, then that. And that was a form of intelligence that we brought to bear a long time ago. And that eventually gave birth to machine learning, which was a big leap forward. The ability to look at a large data set to learn about some of the trends and patterns that come there. And that was, again, one of these things we can apply to HR, where if I can look at how my workforce has performed, when people have left, perhaps even some data about what time they left, that can inform me and maybe tell me a little bit more about where attrition's going at my company. And then another big leap forward with deep learning that allowed me to understand more unstructured data and make even bigger, more impactful insights about my workforce, and something like employee feedback. If I can get insights about what's going on there, that has big implications for what I do with my workforce. Around the same time, we introduced skill intelligence, again, to better understand the talent that I currently have today, or how that talent or this person might fit at my workforce, that I can help someone find the next career path for them, or map their skills to a particular course or job opportunity, something, again, that's very exciting. And where I think AI really came into the popular zeitgeist was with generative AI. And this is ChatGPT, this is Gemini, this is Claude. And I think for kind of the first time everybody really could play around with AI, maybe not quite in the palm of your hand, but in an interface where I could ask it almost anything. And I think we all started to see some huge productivity gains, or the mind started racing about the implications for this. But generative AI really burst onto the scene the last few years. And that, to me, at least, has felt like gasoline on the AI fire. And now everybody everywhere is talking about AI, because that was a really powerful breakthrough. And I don't want to underlittle that at all. But now we're in a new era. Now we're talking about agentic AI and AI agents. And this is where it takes another leap forward, because no matter which part of these previous technologies, these previous versions of AI, a human always had to prompt. A human always had to get the workflow started. And now we're at this point where agents can start to make some of these decisions on their own. Now, humans will always be in the loop to some degree, but maybe not in the loop for every single decision. The whole goal of some of these agents, as they get more and more advanced, is that humans won't be intervening at every single step. And you can imagine the implications that has to scale a workforce. When we talk about reducing some of these manual processes or things that we get bogged down in at work, agents are a huge step forward to reducing some of that load. And it puts us on the precipice of a really exciting time where we can see some of our work get scaled and see some of these impacts across not only our companies and how we work, but across the full talent life cycle, at least as we call it. But I'm going to take a little bit of a pause. Jaclyn, that's my little overview in terms of like what is agentic AI and kind of running through all these. But I hope that for everyone on the line gives you some knowledge of the terms, or at least helps us level set a little bit. But Jaclyn, for you, as someone who's literally building agents as we speak, how do you see these agents? I mean, I mentioned, I think we're on the verge of something pretty incredible when it comes to agents coming to bear, but like, how do you see these as being different than some of the other breakthrough AI technologies that we have on the screen right now?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you walked through the evolution of it perfectly. Like we start from the left-hand side, with automation, like to your point, it's if this thing happens, then that, very tightly controlled,
Right.
very rule-based. And then as you move further towards the right, with generative AI, with agentic AI and AI agents, it's less rules, human dictated rules based, though we can set the boundaries, and more, hey, these agents have a mind of their own. They're making uh, uh, taking our insights and making decisions on their own, within, again, the confines which the humans that designed the system let them be in, but they're still making those decisions. Some of this can be scary because the decisions may not be replicable, the outcomes may not be replicable each time. And that's what it's different about agentic AI versus automation. But what's also fantastic is that you can couple the two to then enable actions that are autonomously and automatically taken based on those decisions and insights.
Yeah, and I think you hit on something that, as I mentioned, we're going to do our very best to kind of cut through some of the the keywords, buzzwords, whatever. But like, I think there's something that we do want to make sure we acknowledge, which is, I think it's very, very normal to feel both of these things at the same time. Like, there is a level of excitement about the breakthroughs that this technology enables for humans, for worldwide, for the betterment of hopefully people. But there's also some fear associated with that. Like, on one end, we see news that AI is helping to dramatically improve our diagnosis of cancer, right? And to help guide treatment for patients or people who are diagnosed. And that's huge, right? That is massive for us. It's also helping us literally create new materials that could lead to other breakthrough technologies like quantum computing. And we're doing this at a speed that we didn't think was possible before we had some of these breakthrough technologies. So on one hand, we go, well, that's hugely exciting. And on the other hand, as employees, as people, like, we also see some of this news, like from the Salesforce CEO, Mark Benioff, saying, hey, 50% of the work this year is being done by AI. Or the Shopify CEO saying that, hey, I need everybody to prove that this job can't be done by AI before we bring in a person to do this role. So I think it's very normal to kind of feel both of those things. And I'll speak for myself. Like, it almost depends on the day. One day I'm rosy and this is amazing. And the next day I'm like, I want to make sure I've got a job coming next. So Jaclyn, like, how do you think about, as we see this incredible surge of AI investment and these tools coming out left and right, like, what's exciting for you? What's concerning? Like, how do you think about this seesaw between these two emotions?
Yeah, and I agree. It's definitely a seesaw. I would say that, with AI, we're increasingly seeing these meaningful gains in productivity and opportunity. That's super exciting. Like cutting the busy work, helping us learn faster, giving managers better tools really to support their teams and achieve business goals together. And I think every day I hear of new and new ways where people are using AI to grow and solve problems together, which just really wasn't happening as easily before. Um, I think though there is a temptation to judge AI by how fast it makes things or how much money it saves, but that's just part of the story.
Yeah.
I think the real magic happens when we look beyond these very easy stats and instead ask how's AI, how are all these tools helping teams like learn and work together, build confidence, try new ideas, really power towards innovation versus just looking at efficiency. How are we looking at creative breakthroughs? How are we better building better relationships, stronger relationships? How are we improving the employee experience? And these are things which are not easily quantified. They don't always show up in the spreadsheet, but super crucial as well. So for me, it's very exciting to see more companies move through towards this direction, really balancing the quick wins around efficiency with these deeper long-term growth potential as part of AI. But then the pace of change is also, slightly worrying and concerning because it really raises important risks that need to be managed. So as AI becomes woven into our daily work, how are decisions made? Like how much autonomy does one have versus the agent? What does trust look like in a company? Again, I think collaboration, transparency, super, super essential. Employees really need to feel supported and empowered and really not just like automated, taken away by AI and left behind. So opportunity there is really large, but I think sustainable success because AI doesn't exist standalone. People actually need to use AI for AI to work. And all this requires thoughtful adoption and continued ongoing investment in people.
And you hit on a few things there. And the first of which I think is really important to double down on, which is we're still early in this game, right? Like we're just on the precipice of how this
Absolutely.
ultimately impacts people, the work we do, how we do it. So to your point about companies, I think trying to figure out how to get past just that first level of, well, can I reduce the work? That's step one of probably what is a multi-step journey to really getting the most out of agentic AI in a way that ultimately serves us and serves companies. But you also hit on something that I think I led in with, which is an important reason about why, again, this is a session that we're excited to have is, yes, we are bringing agents to bear, but also we're doing that from the lens of one of our goals at Eightfold is to ultimately help people find meaningful work, right? And that is one of the products that you work on in talent management is how do we upskill people, give them other opportunities within a company, give them career paths and learning paths. And so we're bringing agents to bear that hopefully will help them do that. Not just help reduce some of that manual work that is always going to be part of an agent, but it's also for what purpose? How do we help them get to the next step in their career? So I know we'll cover that in a bit, but I just want to highlight that's, I think, one of the reasons that we're excited to talk about this, because I think everybody kind of sees agents and sees they're going to take parts of my job that maybe I don't love to do, but maybe is a big part of my job. But there's also another side to that, which is where we can augment the people. But speaking of people, I know, Jaclyn, you're talking with customers, leaders all the time about their perspectives on agents. Just like, what are you hearing from this seesaw? Like, what are you hearing what are they really hoping to see? What are they maybe scared of coming to bear? Like when you're having these conversations, what are they like?
Yeah, and I would preface this by saying I think it's pretty universal what I'm
Mm,
hearing across the globe. I have customer conversations both in North America, in Europe, and in APAC. Very, very similar. I think from the leadership standpoint, um, there is a mix of real hope and honest worry. I think on the hopeful side, everyone loves the idea of AI making their teams more productive, freeing people up to do more valuable work, helping managers make better, faster decisions or spot new business opportunities. Like that golden piece is very attractive. But at the same time, there's a lot of uncertainty of how fast teams can adapt. Some folks are anxious about moving too quickly and losing trust if employees don't feel included or support as
mm,
the company, as the organization moves towards technology and AI and so forth. And so, in our conversations with our customers, I think the ones that are doing the best here are the ones who still put their people first and foremost, keep that communication open, and really don't lose sight of the human element along the way. So, that's from the leadership standpoint. I think from the employee standpoint, again, across the board, the biggest fear is is AI going to take my job? Or is AI going to change my job so much that I don't really know where I fit in or what to do? I think there's a real anxiety right now about thriving, actually surviving this change rather than actually thriving, with this AI driven workplace and all these changes. And employees really truly want to find a way to get ahead, not just keep up. And so what we're seeing is employees asking for very clear training, upskilling, just the chance to learn more skills so that they can feel ready and confident to drive value even as technology changes the game. So companies again here who I see are doing the best are really helping their employees learn AI, learn how the AI, the new technologies change work processes, and move from how do I keep my job with that fear driven to like how do I take the next step and embrace AI as an opportunity to work towards innovation, not just something to like brace against.
And you hit something there that is, I think, a bit of a hot button, right, for a lot of us. And I've kind of mentioned this and a little bit of what I've been talking about. Like I said, you just mentioned it yourself, is it's hard to tell, but I think the fear in the back of everybody's minds is like, what impact is this going to have on jobs? Is this going to have an impact on my job? Am I still going to have a job when this fully comes to bear? As I mentioned, we're still early with Agentic AI and the impact of some of these new companies and products and services and the way of working. So I think the question on many people's minds is, am I still going to have a job? And so I don't know, Jaclyn, like how do you recommend people thinking about this? Again, as someone who's literally building agents right now, like how do you see this
Yeah.
playing out?
Yeah, and I would say even as I'm building agents right now in my field of product management, we've been through this whole debate, which I think is died down a little, but still ongoing on will the function of product management actually exist anymore with AI coming in? So there's been, the field of product management has gone through this whole existential crisis of what does AI mean here. So I feel it personally too as
Yeah.
I'm building these agents. But I mean, taking a step back, we've seen this play out, this type of story play out with almost every big technology shift, right? With automation in factories, in supply chain, when computers first showed up. And then if we go way back in time, like with textile machines, with toll booths, every time there's like a new technology change, yeah, some jobs did disappear, some jobs got redefined, but new roles always showed up. And we're still seeing that too today with AI coming in. And these new roles require skills that people really never imagined before. So I
Yeah.
think the real lesson is change is always going to be there. It does shake things up, but the best people and organizations figure out how to adapt. And adapting means willingness to learn new skills, stay curious, stay ahead, and use whatever tech that shows up to really play through strengths. And so I think if you get comfortable working alongside technology and see it as an enabler and not a threat, this will position everyone better to come out from this change.
And I think large scale, like to some degree, we actually as a economy, we need agents and AI. I mean, I think there was a stat from the Bureau of Labor Statistics that the workforce over the next 10 years is going to grow by like roughly 3% compared to the last 10 years, which was almost 15%. So like you look at that and you go, there in many developing countries, or rather developed countries, there aren't going to be as many people to execute the work. And granted, right now we're at a bit of an elbow period where there was that quote from the Shopify CEO that again can make a bead of sweat kind of come down your brow, where it's like, I mean, it's not a one-to-one. Somebody leaves and we bring in a person. We're now asking the question of, well, how much of that role does AI do? And as I think, again, you mentioned, Jaclyn, it's early days, and that's maybe still how we're thinking about it. But largely speaking, as we move forward, we need to be productive. The economy needs to grow. Companies need to grow, and one of the ways they can do that is through agents. But
Absolutely.
you were also hinting at something too there, which I think is really important, which is how do you think agents are ultimately going to change how work gets done? I mean, again, I know this is something you're thinking about, talking with customers about right now, and at Eightfold, this is also a conversation we have even exclusive of agents. Like, how do we help you as a company, as a provider, as a vendor, as a solution provider, help you help your help your talent get work done? But anyways, what impact do you see agents having there on actually executing work?
Yeah. I think, you know, agents will take over the jobs that are repetitive. I wouldn't say even jobs, I would say tasks
Yeah.
that are very repetitive, that can be done faster and better and cheaper by a technology. And these are usually background tasks that bog teams down. And what this does is really free up time for people to use their time and energy on bigger things, like the innovation that I keep talking about, solving problems, working cross-functionally, coming up with new ideas, and building better relationships at work to drive those new ideas. I think a fantastic example comes from the Josh Besson Company's Pacesetters report with the
Hmm.
Providence Hospital System. So they reported using AI agents to automate a ton of admin work from shift scheduling to task assignment. So there was less need then for certain support roles. But what this really did was freed up doctors and nurses to focus on patient care, boosting morale, making the whole place run smoother, not just cheaper. So I think this is where the change happens, right? Yes, sometimes agents replace people around certain tasks or maybe even certain jobs, but most of the time they really change how teams work together and let people do the things that only people can do and AI can't. There's definitely a gap there. AI is still not technologically advanced to do some of the things that only people can do and really make work less stressful and more meaningful that way.
And for our world in Eightfold, obviously we work with HR, we work with recruiting, we work with employees, and I think for everybody on the line to put a number on one of these roles, Gartner came out with a study at the beginning of this year, I believe it was, that recruiters spend less than 10% of their time actually talking with candidates.
Hmm.
That's an example of something that we want recruiters to do more and more of. So to your point, Jaclyn, about nurses and doctors taking more of the admin tasks off their plates, they can do what only uniquely nurses and doctors can do. Same thing with recruiters. We want them to be able to interface with those candidates and build those relationships. That's just an example of, again, like a number that is very relevant to Eightfold and the companies that we work with. But I also want to get into some of our philosophy in terms of how these agents are going to actually impact the employee experience for us. Because again, I know this is something that we are working on, that we are thinking about, and that I think is important to get into, because it is instructive of some of the points that you've made, Jaclyn, about how agents, it's not just about automating work. It is about kind of enhancing how employees, how they work and how they advance. And I think it's a really important topic to get into. So generally speaking, like, where do you see some of the reduction of some of these barriers coming in that agents can facilitate? Like, how are you seeing that play out?
Yeah. I mean, with what we're building at Eightfold as well, which is around career coach agents to really support employees through their career. Instead of imagine this right experience, instead of waiting weeks for feedback and annual performance reviews or 6 monthly performance reviews, or trying to hunt down resources and figure out how to grow, or really going to online anonymous resources to ask for help and not really getting the answers you need. You can get those instant tailored advice on growth, on skills, on what steps to take. And then for the managers, with the agents we're building, helping you flag your needs of the team, learning opportunities, busy work. How do you recognize good work? How do you have productive performance conversations
Yeah.
with employees, with your team, and help them grow? These are all the different things that I think AI is coming in to change the employee experience, all for the better.
And I think something I'll call out there in particular is, I think about it as when we talk about reducing barriers, one of the, I think, very human barriers that we put up for ourselves is it can be hard to ask someone for advice, right? Even
Mhm.
someone we admire or work closely with, it can be hard to go out of your way to be like, do you have 15 minutes to chat about a career or a question I have? So even just reducing some of those barriers to be able to have an always on resource who can try to answer some of those questions. Even when you do sit down with someone, I think you said it, Jaclyn, it can be a much more productive conversation.
Mhm.
That's really helpful. And that's really useful for people as they want to advance in their career. But again, you think you were kind of getting at this, but with the introduction of some of these agents and these technologies, like, what becomes possible for development and those kind of functions that maybe wasn't before the introduction of some of these technologies?
Yeah. I think career growth, mobility, learning becomes much more easily attainable.
Mm,
And this is a lot of the conversations that we're having with our customers as well. So, for example, moving beyond those, 1 to 3 hour courses or the multi-day courses that you sit online and take and grind through, not completely knowing when you'll apply the material learned, but knowing you need to apply that material to a world where you have a personalized career coach sitting beside you, really providing that real-time guidance and nudges as you need it and as you need to learn, providing bite sized learning courses and opportunities to help you in the very relevant work that you're trying to get done. I think that's the big change in experience. for employees. And then same thing for managers as well. And for them, it's more important because they're really empowering the whole team to work together to hit business goals. And so not just worrying about themselves, but how they structure things for their team. Again, getting those proactive nudges, agents that understand the full context of the company to again help managers balance between hitting the business OKRs and growing their team and really bringing everybody forward together as one group.
And I hope that's instructive. I know it's a really brief conversation today, but I hope that's instructive for people to help explain how agents don't have to be faster automation. There are new ways of helping, again, employees find coaching or managers help to coach their teams that agents can do in ways that we couldn't really do before. But that gets into, I think, our last little topic for today, because we're getting close to time. But as we look ahead, what are you excited about when we think about this next chapter of work and AI augmented work and agents working alongside humans? What excites you as someone who's not only a manager, an employee, but also someone who's literally building these agents? Again, if I've said that too many times, I apologize, but you get the picture. What excites you?
I have been using AI for a bit as part of my job, as part of building for my job, and I'm already amazed at how much time it's saving me on things that I would have struggled with because I just don't like routine, very task-driven type work, and I like to spend my time thinking about problems in space. So that's one, right? On the overall piece, just freeing up my time so that I can spend more time thinking about the future, where I want to build, and what do I want to build for Eightfold and for our customers. And I think also what it really excites me is it's hard for me to scale to support my entire team. So I'm really looking forward to having my own set of career coaches help my team and enable them and be an extension of me in helping them, helping me scale and supporting them as they grow in both their career as well as their work journey.
It's funny. One of the things that I actually talk about with my wife when it comes to work and career progression is eventually you get to the point where you're hired or the job you have is because of your brain, not necessarily for your output. And I think it's exactly what hopefully the promise of agents and AI as we move forward is. More and more and more of the work that we do is because of how we think about things and the kind of strategy that we can provide or decisions we can make, and less so what our output is either at a keyboard or physically. I think that's actually really exciting. So
Yeah.
anyways, I think that's all we have time for today. Ella,
Hi. Yeah, thank you so much, guys. It's really important, isn't it? Because AI is the new hot topic, really, isn't it? But I went to a conference the other day and they were saying that 75% of employers are now looking at AI as either a skill or a replacement when hiring. So it's a really important message for us to actually upskill ourselves as well and make sure that we're using it correctly. We do actually have a question that's come in, but we're right at time, so I'm only going to ask one. And it's, how do we use AI to improve talent decisions at scale while protecting trust, fairness, and accountability across the people lifecycle?
Do you have another half hour?
Let's give it 45 seconds.
Jaclyn, do you want to give that one a shot?
Sure. I think the TLDR there, again, because we don't have half an hour, is be very open with employees, with external candidates on how AI is being used. And then, so for example, at Eightfold, we not only work with our customers to do that, but we have whole policies around responsible AI. We're also certified ISO-wise and FedRAMP-wise. So the trust and belief in the system, and we're very open in how all the models are used, how they're calculated, the results that come up, that can be shared. And of course, nothing beats having human in the loop for those very crucial decisions. That's the short answer.
And that was perfect, very concise. Well, thank you so much, Conor and Jaclyn. It's been lovely to speak to you today.
Thank you for having us.